Good morning, Vodafone. So this is the beginning of the recording of today's live broadcast. We are now live. I'm on my own, waiting for people to join. If you are watching the replay before we've had a chance to edit it down, then the next 10 minutes are just preamble. I like to go live a little bit before the last minute in case there are any technical challenges, and there have been a few that need resolving. So I am just going to chat for the next 10 minutes. If you're starting this replay at the beginning, there are 10 minutes before the class starts. So either fast forward by 10 minutes, or if you do join and you're live in the next few minutes, if anyone is listening to this, you've got 10 minutes to settle yourself on your mat before you start. If, like me, you've been rushing around a little bit and you've got the time now, then just take a few moments to let your breath settle. Good morning, Vodafone. There's still 5 minutes till the start of class, so now's a good opportunity to gather your stuff together if you've not done so already. A nice spongy mat that's going to give you a little bit of padding under your knees, but also a little bit of grip. Make sure you're not going to slip. And either do the practice in bare feet, or if you've got socks that have got grips on. It's not so critical this time of year when it tends to be warmer. I know that some of my regulars, when we're in a quite cool space, like to have socks, but if you have socks on, make sure that you're able to grip with your feet. Also, you don't need a big ball, but when we come to do Warrior 3 in our sequence, if you know that you struggle to stay stable in Warrior 3, then either position the top of your mat so it's quite near a wall, so you can reach a wall with your hands to give you some stability and to help you get into the pose. Or have a couple of blocks at the head end of your mat so that you can use them in Warrior 3. I think those are the only props you'll need today. Maybe have a strap to hand if you know that you use the strap for Dandasana or Janushirasana. If you've got tight hamstrings, it can be handy to have a strap within reach, but it's not absolutely essential. Props are really useful for helping us to get into some poses. They work in different ways for different people, depending on where you are in your practice and what your particular challenges are. And we all have challenges. Some of them, quite a lot of them, are physical, and that can be down to what we've done with our bodies in our lives, both in terms of exercise regimes we've followed or not followed. If we've done a lot of sitting around, that will also leave its mark, if you like, on the body, will have an effect on the body. And if you're very happy with your body and your body doesn't present you with any challenges, congratulations. You may yet have challenges with your mind. We all have challenges with our minds. We all have things that concern us in our own lives, in the state of the world. And yoga is very helpful to us in trying to calm the mind and to navigate our way through challenges as they present themselves. And if you have a lot of challenges in the physical postures, then that is also really helping making your mind fit for the other challenges that life presents. So what we do on the mat is reflected in what we do in the world, how we react to situations and circumstances that surround us. Whether we can react in a calm, open, truthful, non-judgmental way, or whether we are a slave to our knee-jerk reactions, which, according to yoga, are the result of our prarabdha karma. In other words, karma we've built up over lifetimes. But a more conventional scientific view might be that that's part of your upbringing, your conditioning, or your inherent nature or nurture, or prarabdha karma, depending on your belief system. But in any event, you have things that you bring with you to the mat, both physical and mental. And the practice today and every day is to help us to navigate our way through those challenges and respond in the way that's best for other people. And then also ultimately best for ourselves and for the world. So it's nearly time to start. We're going to begin in semi-supine position. So stretch yourself out on the mat, on your back. Have your knees up and your feet flat on the ground as you bring yourself into supine position. So set yourself up so that your heels and your hips and your knees and your shoulders are in two parallel lines, and ease your way down onto the mat any way you can. Make yourself comfortable. If you like to have something underneath your head, if you find it uncomfortable to lie like this because your chin is falling backwards, or for any other reason, then you can have light padding under the back of your head. Make sure it's not too high though, so you're not over tucking in the other direction. But if you like that support so that you can lengthen the back of the neck, then use that. Take a couple of moments to bring your focus to your breath. It may be helpful here to have your hands on your belly, or one hand on your belly and the other on your chest, so that you can observe the breath. Inhaling as the chest lifts, the diaphragm pushes down and the belly domes, and exhaling as the belly draws back in and the air passes back up and out through the nose. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. You may become aware that as you inhale, the middle of your back lifts lightly away from the mat, and as you exhale, it drops back down again. So depending on your awareness and your breath and your flexibility, you may notice a ripple of movement through your spine. As you inhale and as you exhale, maybe even a very slight tilting of the pelvis as your spine extends on your inhalation, or rather the front of your spine opens up on your inhalation, and as you exhale, the back of your spine opens up. There's slight flexion there. Bring your hands down to your hips and inhale, take them up so that your hands float above your shoulders. Exhale, draw them back down again. So we're just beginning here to move with our breath. It's another way of observing the breath, but also it's a way of bringing your attention to the breath, and that calms the mind. We are yoking mind and body using the breath as the bridge. And this is the essence of our vinyasa. Inhaling as you open the chest and exhaling as the spine flexes, only very slightly. If you've got no issues with your shoulder joints and you're starting to feel nice and comfortable and warm in the shoulders, you can take the arms a little bit further overhead on your inhalation. Maybe the backs of the hands will even come towards the floor. But if you feel any pinching in the shoulder, if it's too much in the arms, then just don't go so deeply. Listen to your body, make it a respectful dialogue. Don't bully your body. If you do, it will dig its heels in, metaphorically speaking, and won't cooperate. If you want to get the best out of your body, you speak sweetly to it, cajoling, listening patiently to its complaints, and deciding how seriously to take them. Inhaling as you extend and exhaling as you come back down again. So make this your last round. And when your hands come back to your hips, gently bring one knee and then the other in towards your chest, rolling gently from side to side. Bring the left foot down to the floor, stretch your right leg up to the ceiling, point and flex, and then with the foot flexed, draw the right foot down so that you place it on the edge of your left thigh. So the edge of your right foot comes just beyond the edge of your left thigh, sending your right thigh away if you can to create a triangular space between your legs. Thread your right hand between that space so you get hold. If you can, clasp with both hands the back of your left thigh. This is Suturindasana, threading the needle pose. If you can reach your hands to the shin, see what happens here? I tense my upper body in order to do that. Then drop back to the thigh. But if you can reach your shin without tensing your upper body, and keep your head and shoulders soft on the mat, you can do that too. Keep flexing that right foot, drawing your baby toe around towards your knee, and you'll feel a greater stretch here in your outer right hip and the outer thigh. Inhale and exhale, keep sending that right knee away and drawing that left knee in. And then release your left foot to the floor, stretch your right foot up to the ceiling and draw it back down again. Stretch the left foot up. We're going exactly the same way on the other side, opening this hip, bringing the sole of the foot to the outer right thigh this time. You've created a space between the legs. You're going to thread your left hand through, meet your right hand behind your thigh, or maybe at your shin. And maybe one side, you can reach the shin, maybe the other side, the back of the thigh is quite enough. So this is, as I said, Suturindasana. It means threading of the needle pose, and it is your alternative to pigeon pose. We'll do pigeon pose in a moment, and if your knee doesn't like the twist or the weighting that you employ in pigeon pose, then take this as your alternative.
Bring your right foot down, release the hands, release the left foot to the ceiling, stretch it out, point and flex, and then bring that down to the floor as well. Clasp both thighs behind, bring both hands to the backs of your thighs, and start to rock through the spine. So without coming onto the head, and in any case, you might want to remove any padding under your head at this point. We're going to just roll between the shoulder blades and the coccyx, opening up the spine, engaging the abdominal muscles, and finally coming up to seating, either rolling up or helping with your hands. Stretch the legs out in front. We're coming into Dandasana, staff pose. Draw your chest forward and your shoulders down. Flex the feet. Sit up as tall as you can. You've got a mirror handy and you can see that your back is straight. All well and good. Otherwise, just keep working the chest forward and the shoulders back. From here, bend your right knee, bring it in towards you, give it a hug, check you've not slumped back, and then open your right knee to the side for Janu Sirsasana. Sole of the right foot comes to the left inner thigh. Arrange your chest so your sternum faces the middle toe here. Wrap your shoulders back and down. Find length in the body on your inhalation. Hinge from the hip in your exhalation. So you're drawing the crown of your head forward, tucking your chin in, making the back long, hinging from the hip and using the breath. So we're not just trying to get our head down to the knee, though that is the aim of the pose, as its name suggests, head to knee pose. We're trying to lengthen the spine, opening the front body and hinge from the hip. That's actually going to give you more depth in the pose. Strong stretch for the hamstrings, that left leg. If you are a runner, if you've done a lot of walking in lockdown, you might find this quite a challenge. To come out of it, on an inhalation, press the fingertips into the mat, walk them back up your leg, fold in your right leg, stretch out, point and flex, just in case you're feeling it in the back of that knee. Draw the left leg in and we'll go on the other side. So inner thigh next to the foot. Arrange the chest so your sternum lines up with your middle toes. Wrap your shoulder blades together. Draw them together at your back. Lengthen as much as you can before folding. So one leg might feel quite different from the other. You might have to adjust your buttock back a little bit to give you a little bit more space, or you might just not be able to come down very far on one side. Our hip sockets can be different shapes on either side. They may not match equally, or you may have tightened one set of muscles more than the other by standing on one leg or carrying a heavy satchel on one side and therefore weighting down on one side of the body. There are all sorts of stories our bodies could tell about what we've done to them over the years. So just be mindful of that and don't beat yourself up if you find a bit of your body that's not particularly cooperative. Just use your breath and surrender to wherever you are in the pose. Inhale, press the fingertips into the mat. Draw yourself back up to Dandasana. Unfold the folded leg. Point and flex the feet. And then sweep your feet around to the side and move over into downward facing dog, no, into box position. Do a couple of quick cat-cow curls. Those of you who've been coming for a couple of months now will be very familiar with this move. We almost always do it in class to warm up the back. So we're just rolling through the back, curling like a cat, and then it's cousin the cow pose. Exhaling here and inhaling to come forward. So from here, tuck the toes, press into the outside of the hands and also your fingertips, and then just hover your knees off the ground. This is going to engage your lower abdominal muscles. So keep drawing your tailbone down if you can. So you're tilting your pelvis that away. Tucking your tailbone away and trying to draw your belly up. And then release the knees and sit back in child's pose, resting your buttocks on your heels. This is your resting posture. You can bring your brow down to the mat if you like. I tend not to. And if you see, I meant to say that I don't sometimes release my head properly in a forward fold. It's not, I'm not setting an example. It's bad technique because I'm trying not to lose my head mic. Sometimes when I go upside down, it falls off and then I don't realize till the end that I've been a little bit faint throughout the class. So that's why that happens. Press into the fingertips. fingertips, tuck the toes, hover the knees off the mat again. Inhale, and as you exhale, bring the heels to the mat. We're coming into downward facing dog. So press your heels as close to the mat as you're able. Lift your toes if you can. Press your hips high to the sky and draw your rib cage towards your thigh bones. Fingertips press into the mat, particularly the thumb mound and the first finger mound. That's going to take some pressure out of the wrists, I hope. And then from here, inhale, press down with your left heel, float your right heel high up to the sky, keeping your hip bones level if you can. Exhale, bend both knees, and we're coming into that pigeon I promised you. So bring your right knee all the way through towards your right thumb, adjust your hands and adjust your right foot so that you've got space here. You're drawing your heel towards your hip, but you neither want to be rolling out over to the side, nor do you want to have your foot squashed into your belly. So try and create space. A block under the right buttock here can be really helpful, as can drawing that left foot away if you've got the room. Draw your shoulder blades together, lift your chest. Option here is to come into a little bit of a balance where you just bring your hands to your heart center and hold. Alternative is eye of the needle, as we did at the beginning of the class. Otherwise, lengthen your spine, lift, puff your chest out like a pigeon and come down onto your forearms, or you can stretch your hands away and bring your brow all the way down to the mat. Find the position that's comfortable for you. If you've got quite a lot going on here, then you might prefer to be up on your forearms or have your forearms on a block. You need to have enough space to breathe. So if bringing your head down means you're all squashed up and you don't feel like you can keep your airways properly open, then adjust the pose for you. Inhaling and exhaling here. Ekapada Raja Kapotasana, single-legged king, pigeon or dove pose. Press into the fingertips. Lift and lengthen. Tuck the toes of the left foot. Press into both hands. As you lift that right knee up, maybe you can arch the back a little here and stretch. And then we're coming into three-legged dog. Stretch your right heel up high. Press your left heel down. Drop down into downward facing dog. You can stay here working on your downward facing dog if you want to, or come forward onto all fours on an inhalation, exhale into child's poses. The briefest of brief breaks, just to take the pressure off your wrists. Inhale to all fours, exhale to downward dog where we meet our colleagues. Press down in the right heel, take your left heel up to the sky, square off the hips if you can. Bring your weight forward. Draw that left knee up to the chest and bring it down just inside your left thumb. Lifting and lengthening here. Square off the hips. Again, make yourself comfortable here. So use a block under the left buttock if you need to. Adjust that left foot to make it possible for you. Option to balance here. If that's too much on your lower back, on your hip, don't do it. Lift and lengthen, and when you're ready, come down and fold. So again, you can rest your forearms on a block. Some of you may be able to come all the way down. It just depends on your flexibility and the way you're built. Use your breath. See if you can soften your jaw. If your jaw is tight, if you're holding on to a bit of a grimace here, then try and let that go. It will help you to soften your hips. There's a correlation between tight jaws and tight hips. When you're ready to ease your way out of it, lift and lengthen, tuck the back toes, press into the hands, hug the left knee into the chest, send it back into three-legged dog. Inhale to downward facing dog, and now we're all going to come to our knees and exhale into child's pose. Not here for long. You can stay here for a bit longer if you want to. Choice is yours. Otherwise, we're coming up all fours. We're exhaling, downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, we're going to walk the feet slowly, bending at the knee. So we come into a forward fold. You might need quite a deep knee bend to get your hands onto the floor. So tuck your chin in, straighten your legs and float your arms up so they come to your elbows. Take a little twist to one side and then to the other, Baddha Hastasana, bound hand pose. sometimes known as ragdoll. Releasing the head and neck here, bending the knees deeply, taking the arms up and overhead, bringing your palms together above your head, and then drawing your hands down to your heart center. So we're going to do a little sequence now, some of which will be familiar. Most of the moves we've done before, but I'll talk you through them for the sake of new people anyway. So we're going to inhale, take the arms up and overhead. Exhale, tuck your tailbone under and come into Utkatasana or fierce pose. So here you want to work your tail down. That's going to activate your lower abdominal muscles here. You'll feel it in your buttocks and in your quadriceps, but you shouldn't feel it in your knees. If your knees are coming too far forward, then you want to send your weight back and down. Toes are light. Hold it here if you can. It's quite a challenging move. That's why it's called fierce pose. Utkatasana or intense pose. Inhale, bring your hands to your heart center, press through your left leg and lift your right leg up and balance if you can. Exhale, Utkatasana again. Inhale, press through the right leg, lift the leg. So if you're wobbling, if you're on a very spongy mat, you can come off your mat to do this. But we are going to go into our sequence in a minute, so you might want to be on the mat. We're coming into Utkatasana, and then we're lifting one leg, back into Utkatasana, and then lifting the other. So you should feel you're getting nice and warm now around the thighs and the buttocks. If you're not feeling that, go a little bit deeper. As long as you're not feeling it in the knees, you can take it right down and right up again. So make sure you've done an even number on each side. We're going to go now lifting the right leg. And from there, you're going to float the right leg back and take it into a crescent lunge. So you may need to slide your leg down the mat if you find it difficult to balance. If you're finding it difficult to be in your crescent lunge, you can float your hands to the floor. Otherwise, shoulders back and down, chest lifts, level off the hips, press back into that right heel, and hold. From here, we're going to come into a twist. Your option is to bring your right hand to the mat and open into a lunge twist. Otherwise, we're coming into a crescent lunge twist where the right hand comes forward and the left hand comes back. Opening to the left as much as you can, drawing your inner thighs together. From here, you've got the option of lifting your front arm, taking your back arm back. We release back into crescent lunge. We draw the hands to our heart center. We come back to the front of the mat, pressing through the front leg, sliding the back leg in, or maybe you can float it in, and we're coming into standing pigeon. So here, foot, just like we had at the beginning, in eye of the needle, flexed and across the left thigh. As in Utkatasana, we're tucking the tailbone under and opening the chest, bringing the hands to the heart center. Hold here if you can. And then on an inhalation, we're coming into warrior three. So here's where your blocks might be handy. More handy possibly is to have a wall ahead of you so that you can press your fingertips into the wall. You can press your right heel back. Try and get everything in line if you can. The piano is not quite at the ideal place, but hey, it will do. And then from here, float the fingertips down to the floor and take your right toes high up into standing pigeon. Option here is to float your fingertips to the back of your calf and balance. Then bring the fingertips back to the floor. Drop your right leg back into your lunge and go through your normal sequence. So if you know what you're doing, just you go ahead. Otherwise, I'm talking you through it. We're coming into plank. From plank, knees, chest, and chin come down to the floor, untuck the toes. Leave the bottom behind, that stays high in the air, and then slide your chest forward. Lengthen the back of your neck, look down. Exhale into downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, you can lunge, right foot followed by the left to the front of your mat, or you can walk your feet forward, or you can spring if that's in your practice. We exhale when we get there. We inhale up and over, and we exhale back to our heart center. We're going to do that all on the left now, beginning with those chairs. Inhaling up and over, exhaling Utkatasana. Inhale, lift the left leg,
Exhale, Utkatasana. Inhale, lift the right leg. Exhale, Utkatasana. Now we're on the move. Inhale, left leg comes up. We float it back as elegantly as you can. Find your crescent lunge. Adjust your foot as much as you need to. Bring your hands to the mat if you need to. Open your chest. Lift your sternum to the ceiling if that's okay for you. Tuck the chin in. So the twist now, either fingertips to the floor or keep gripping your inner thighs lightly towards each other and open to the right. Right hand can come down, the left hand can lift up. Then on an inhalation, we come back to the crescent lunge. Draw the hands to the heart center as you exhale and float that back leg up and around and find your standing pigeon. So again, help your foot if you need to get it to the outer right thigh. Tuck your tailbone, lift your heart. Remember, you're still a pigeon. You're puffing out your chest as pigeons do. Connect with your breath. So you can hold it here. If your standing leg's starting to tie, you can come straight down to lunge. Otherwise, we're coming into warrior 3. Hands stretch away. Left heel stretches away. Level off your hips if you possibly can. Hold it a little longer if you can, and when you can't, or when you've had enough, when you feel like it, drop your fingertips to the floor and come into standing split. Your option here, if you want it, is to take your hand to your calf and ease your brow closer to your shin. Maybe both hands to your calf. Tiny bit more challenging. And then we're going to inhale, come into a long lunge. Eye gaze forward and up. Don't forget your technique. If you're tiring, press into both hands and we come into plank. You can come straight into chaturanga, lowering and into upward dog if that's in your practice. Otherwise, knees, chest, chin come down. Bottom stays high. We slide forward. Shoulders wrap, look down. Exhale into your down face dog. Hold it here in down face dog. Press your heels down, your bottom up. Stretch away from your fingertips. Draw your shoulder blades together. Bring your chest towards your thighs. Create space. And then when you're ready, lunge the left foot followed by the right, or leap, or walk to the front of your mat into forward fold. Inhaling, arms up and over. Exhale, hands to your heart center. We're coming down to the mat. So you can come down any way you like, or you can come with me and take a forward fold, followed by a walk to downward facing dog. Inhaling to all fours and exhaling into child's pose. Inhale back to all fours. Actually, no, let's stay kneeling and just swing around. So we come back into Dandasana. Find your way into a seated position, however feels good for you. So sitting upright on your seated bones, take your hands behind you so your fingertips face towards your buttocks. Draw your elbows together and lift your chest. We're coming into Purvottanasana. So press into the hands, send the knees over the feet. So we come into a flat position here. We're trying to get your hips up level with your knees, eye gaze towards your thighs. Hold here if you can. Inhale, press to your left heel, stretch your right heel up towards the sky, and then cross it over the left thigh and bring your bottom back down to the floor. Or find your way into this some other way if your shoulders and your wrists aren't strong enough to do that move. So we're in another version of Suchirindasana that we did at the beginning, lying on our backs, but this time we're drawing our chest closer to our thighs. If you want more, you can reduce that distance between your hips and your foot. That's going to make it even more intense. So find the position that's right for you. Draw your shoulder blades together, lift your chest. To come out of it, lift the buttocks again, stretch that right foot up, draw that right foot down, keeping the left foot on the mat, and then just take a twist to the left, lengthening the spine. Come to center, bring your right foot back in, set up to go on the other side.
Hands behind, fingertips point towards your feet. Draw your shoulder blades together, press down through your wrists and lift up, pressing into your feet, using your triceps here. Left leg comes up, comes across, bottom draws down. Draw forward if that suits you, or stay nice and low if it doesn't. So you've got the option here of coming to your forearms if that's really not good for your hips. Otherwise, come up, 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 maybe come forward. That's going to make it much more intense. Use your breath. Inhale, exhale deeply. Draw your shoulder blades away from your ears if you can. Press through the hands, lift that left foot high to the ceiling. Draw it down. Hug your right knee into your chest, lift and lengthen and take a twist to the right. Come back to center. Place both feet on the mat. Tuck your tailbone under and draw down into Shavasana. If you're not ready for Shavasana yet and you want one more last stretch, take your feet up to the ceiling. Take your hands to the sides of your feet. Tuck your tailbone down towards the floor. Draw your knees in towards your armpits. And take happy baby. Rolling gently from side to side. Just to release off the lower back, release off the hips. And stretch out the hamstrings if that feels good to you. And then bring the feet together. Draw them back down to the mat. Take Supta Baddha Konasana, bringing the soles of your feet together and opening your hips. It's a particularly lovely stretch. If you've got a bolster, put that under your back. Otherwise, just stay here for 3 to 5 breaths. Hands to the belly, increasing your awareness of the breath. So we got a little bit busy towards the end of class there. A few moves coming quite thick and fast. So I'm sorry if you're new and that was a bit much. You may feel that your heart rate's gone up a little bit. So just lengthen the breath. When you're ready, take your hands to your thighs, draw your knees together, come back into semi-supine. You can stay here or stretch your legs one after the other away and come into Shavasana. Allowing your feet to flop open to the sides, allowing your hips to open, palms face the ceiling, backs of the hands come to the mat. Let everything go. Watch your breath coming into your body in long threads. Watch your body's response to the breath. Where does it engage? Where does it hold back? Where does your breath create space in the body? Are there bits of your body that have yet to open up? Are there bits of your mind that are still resistant to the practice? Are there times in the practice, particularly when we work on these deep hip opening postures, where you feel reluctant or even irritated? Can you put yourself, mind and body, into a unified equilibrium where you flow with the breath? Surrender to the pose so that it will unlock its secrets. feeling gratitude for what your body will do, and non-judgment and acceptance when you discover things that you cannot yet do. Watch the breath. If you can expand the space between your inhalation and your exhalation, between your exhalation and your next inhalation, enjoy that space. Space in the breath, space in the body, space in the mind. That act of rest, Shavasana, creates space in the mind and brings rest to the body. If you're able to spend a little more time here, treat yourself to a few more minutes, deep repose. You won't regret it. If the demands of life are pressing in, however, you really must go. And gently stretch out the body in whichever way feels good to you. Hugging your knees into your chest and making sure you roll gently to one side before drawing yourself up to seated. So wherever you are, seated or in Shavasana, I wish you a great day, a lovely week. Please join me on Thursday morning at 7:30, and we're continuing into August, I'm happy to say. Namaste.